Hi there, welcome to Tarot Land Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Sagittarius energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Sagittarius. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy. We all have free will and we have our dualistic nature. And some people could be struggling within themselves, trying to make a decision. Some people might want to, in the top row, kind of move forward in life a little differently. Be inspired to, I don't know, have a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in their dreams or something. But the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. And, you know, there's a part of us that would like to stay in our comfort zone and kind of would like the things that we've already invested our time, energy, and effort into to work out the way we want. And in either case, we can have different people in our life who kind of align more with our more worldly egoic nature, which can be fear, insecurity, lust, greed, pride, ego, defensiveness, immaturity, self-indulgence, you know, the list goes on. But we can also have other people in our life who kind of align with our more high vibrational nature, who could be, and it doesn't even have to be other people, it can just be, you know, we can be inspired by a lot of things, books, movies, music, our own thoughts, you know, to want to live life differently. And then we have to choose and make these decisions in our life. And so while some people could be debating within themselves, while some people are debating, other people are moving on and they've went through the debate and they're ready to move forward in life differently. And while some people make a decision to move forward in life differently, some other people could have decided, I'm good. I don't feel a need to move on in life differently. And we all feel the need to kind of move on in life differently when we're ready, you know, in our own journey in life. So let's go look at the top row first. The reason for the top row's reading coming out is the Fear card, which could kind of be like the 8 or 9 of Swords, which can, maybe even the 8, 9, and the 10, which is being up in our head about having a new beginning and closing out an old cycle, a way of living life, a way of viewing ourselves, viewing others, viewing the world. And we'd have to detach from an old way of living life and face those fears. And we could have been ready, and the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Swords is Gemini energy, which is a dualistic sign about our free will and what our truth is and what our truth isn't. And we can just be scared about moving forward in life differently, like getting a different job, hanging out with some different people, dating, getting in a new relationship, doing things a little different, getting out of our head, going with the flow. But we also then could have people in our life that kind of like us, living more from our mind than our heart, being up in our fear and our insecurity, and or making our life more about the world. And sometimes we have people in our life where we'd kind of like to move forward in life differently, but they don't want to. And with most people, you know, it doesn't matter because we know all sorts of people that are everywhere on the spectrum of life. But it's just when it's more of a close friend or a romantic relationship that we really wanted those people to move forward with us and be like encouraging and supportive. Not like they've got to live their life like that necessarily or view life that way. But we'd like them to at least be encouraging and supportive where we can still be friends, right? And still get along. But it could come down to with some people that in high vibe Gemini and Sagittarius, you're more inspired by love. And other people could have fear of love. You can get hurt doing love. And so some people prefer to kind of live more from their mind, a little bit more of their defensive nature. And they might want to move forward with you, but they want to keep being more self-protective or defensive. And you know, you feel like you can't really have maybe more of a deep, meaningful relationship with them. So there could be some people in the world that have already kind of worked through that. And as they're moving forward in life, they are facing their fears, to not let their fears manipulate them, let other people manipulate them, let their mind and all those things manipulate them. And when people make that decision to move forward in life differently, they probably had to work through these two cards that aren't showing themselves to see if I live my life a certain way and I already realized I didn't like that. I have to figure out how I could have harnessed these energies in a more shadowy way, because if I don't, I'll still be kind of drawn and attracted to living life and viewing life and being attracted to certain people because I harness those in a shadowy way. And then when people work through that, they kind of saw the people in their life maybe that did harness those energies in a more shadowy way. And they were willing to cut those people out of their life, or cut that job out of their life, or ways of living life out of their life. And that can be why some people aren't going to move forward with you, because they would also have to do that. And the shadowy road can be where people don't want to deal with the truth, don't want to see the truth, don't want to deal with their fear of what maybe other people would think or say, or, the truth sets us free. And we have to be willing to speak our truth. And in high vibe, I am my own individual. I am independent. I am not codependent. I am not a child anymore. I make decisions in my life. And in high vibe, I want to get along with other people. High vibe Gemini, from love, but it has to be just and fair. And people, in love, you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And some people don't like that, and they don't want to be just and fair. They can want to be more indulged in kind of shadowy ways of being. And so let's go see what some high vibe people have had to deal with. The writing and the partnership. So, we all want to be, if you're out in the workforce, you want to have a job. We like to have community and friendship. And, we had a way of viewing life that we used to think was just and fair. And writing is kind of like, I kind of view writing, and when cards come up in the deck that are kind of about creative processes, it can be like in our fire sign energy, we were inspired to want to manifest these certain things in our life, right? And Sagittarius is fire sign energy. We're kind of motivated and inspired by certain things. And there could have been people in our life in the partnership, between brothers or sisters or children or moms or dads or anything like that. There was people that we wanted to have maybe a more balanced relationship with, and hoping they would be inspired. High vibe Sagittarius is about being willing to get out of your ego to learn lessons in life, deal with your fears and your insecurities and your past pain and heartbreak, to free yourself, to wrap your brain around it so that you can let it go and go on this adventure in life, to keep learning more lessons. And our own shadow nature will try to manipulate us. Other people that are in shadowy energy will try, because, at the big picture, we view shadow energy as kind of represented by the devil. All these things within ourselves and outside of ourselves that try to limit us, restrict us, confine us, imprison us, stop us from living our more authentic life and giving birth to something new. And high vibe energy, represented at the big picture as God, wants us to free ourselves from these things that manipulate us, to give birth to something new. And we have that dualistic nature within ourselves. Our fear and our insecurity wants to stay in our comfort zone. And the reason for the bottom rose reading is the virtual reality kind of card of illusions. Let's kind of just stay in denial of the truth. And let's make our life more about the world and live more from our mind or our fear or our codependent nature. But some people couldn't keep living the illusion. We're inspired to kind of grow to our full potential, don't like things manipulating us. And we could have realized that some of the people that we were trying to collaborate with, to write a story with, that the story they wanted to write was different than the story you wanted to write. So it's kind of like your dreams were different. What they could find emotionally fulfilling in living the dream life is different than what you could find emotionally fulfilling in your idea of the dream life. And maybe what you think is just and fair is different. And that can be really hard to let go of some of those people, again, because you thought they were going to be a part of your story. But we come in contact with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And the shadowy road can be where people want to keep repeating an old pattern, and we'll all repeat a certain pattern. It's like going through a phase of life. And at this phase of life, when I entered it, I did view life this way. And I was excited about that phase of life. And I thought it was just and fair. And of course we did, because that was where we were at. You know, we thought and felt, and we're at the certain emotional maturity level that we were. But then there comes a time where we've kind of learned everything we needed to learn. And then we're kind of dreaming more of what could be. And while some people kind of are looking to the next, where do we go next from here? Let's face our fear to go to that next phase of life. Some other people are like, what? No, that seems impossible, or that seems scary. Let's just keep doing this. And that's where, in our fire sign energy of Sagittarius, some people are more motivated and inspired to work through their self-limiting beliefs, their fears, their insecurities, maybe do look at life more as an adventure. Other people, maybe not so much. In a more worldly fire sign energy, you could either be more caught up in making your life more about the things of the world. Your ego, or your image, or your status is most important. It could be, and some people never plan to live their more authentic life or be more independent in the world. And could be people who like to make their life more about conforming to the world and just not being more independent and living their more authentic life. And that's their comfort zone. And we just need to see the truth of it. And other people are willing to be more independent and work through things that manipulate them, and other people don't maybe want to deal with the truth of it, want to stay in denial of the truth. So then we have the trauma card. And the trauma card, I guess now in this situation, is kind of reminding me of the Tower. And the Tower can be, I live my life a certain way, I view life a certain way, and I am willing to let that old way of living life and viewing life, just like we did when we went from age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25, we had to detach from an old way of living life to give birth to facing our fears to move to the next phase of life, right? And there could be a part of us that would kind of like to repeat an old pattern and stay in denial of the truth. Next, we have the jealousy card, which I guess kind of reminds me of fire sign energy of the king, maybe more the Queen of Wands, because the Queen of Wands can kind of represent our more egoic nature. There's things that we do want in our life, but would we have to compromise our truth? Because Gemini energy, air sign energy, which is kind of more about what we love and I guess ultimately our truth. And we could have those fears. Well, if I keep kind of standing up for what I believe in, am I going to be able to manifest what I want to manifest, right? And maybe I should just buy into the illusion, and maybe I should be more indulgent of myself in my worldly nature and indulge other people that are in their more worldly nature. But the thing is with the tower, if you're not building a foundation on truth and love, and you're not in relationships with people who are wanting to work together with you in truth and love, and acting with character and integrity, and tempering their shadow nature and their ego, it's an unstable foundation. And as we move forward in life, there can also be other people who are jealous of you because you're not willing to indulge them in their more shadowy ways of being. And as we move forward in life, there's always going to be other shadowy people in the world who, it's like shadowy energy trying to stop you from giving birth to your divine inheritance of being free to live your more authentic life from truth and love and justice and fairness. And there can always be other people who, like, well, I want to be the next person to be bossy and controlling in your life, or manipulative, or want you to indulge me. And the fact that you're maybe no longer, the Tower card again can be letting go of an old foundation. Maybe now you've gotten out of your fear, and now you are feeling more stable within yourself, more balanced within yourself, more confident within yourself in your high vibe Gemini Sagittarius energy. You're not the same person that you used to be before. And then there can be people who are jealous of you, whether they're male or female, because you really are. The masculine figures can represent how we present ourselves in the world, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. You really are who you say you are. You're not. Shadowy energy can be trying to create an illusion. I present myself as this just and fair and stable and grounded and balanced and emotionally loving person. You should get in a relationship with me. You should be my friend. But emotionally, that's not really the truth of who they are, but that's can be how they try to present themselves. And as you move forward in your life and you've freed yourself from more things that used to manipulate you, you could go through a period of some people that don't like that. Well, why aren't you manipulated by the things that manipulated me? Why aren't you caught up in your fear and your insecurity or your lust or your greed or your codependent nature, or letting me manipulate you or be bossy and controlling of you? And those people can try to tear you down and do things to try to get you in your ego. But in high vibe energy, you've kind of seen through the illusion. And when people act in kind of bossy, controlling, immature, manipulative ways, being hurtful, being unkind, being unjust, being unfair, you see the truth of it and you don't let it get you all up in your head, where maybe before it used to. And it's kind of human nature to a degree to get up in your head a little bit when people act like that, but you're able to accept that everybody in their Gemini nature of free will has the free will to choose to be more just and fair and authentic and loving and work with you cooperatively, or not to. And that if you are acting in a just and fair and authentic way with people, not trying to manipulate and control people, it's going to bother some people, because they see that you do seem to be more not caught up in the games, and that you kind of see through the illusion of who they try to present themselves as. They don't like that. And then when they act in these kind of shadowy ways, you see the truth of it. In the Tower talks about that you see the truth of the foundation that they operate from. And then they don't like that. That gets them in their pride and ego, that they chose to act in some shadowy ways. You saw the truth of it. You're continuing to move forward in your life. They know they acted in a shadowy, manipulative, kind of prideful, bossy, mean, whatever kind of way of being, and that you're still moving forward. And then they have the free will to either stop acting like that and work together with you in more high vibrational Sagittarius, Gemini energy and Pisces energy, to have some hope and faith and belief and work together with people more in a more mature way instead of a more shadowy way. So at the end here, we're going to get some cards out to ask what's coming up for you that you might not see coming. Now let's look at the bottom row. We have the Sex card, which I view as fire sign energy because fire sign kind of represents our life force energy. And for some people, they still think like sex is love. Other people have kind of seen through the illusion of thinking sex is love, and they really want to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship instead of a more indulgent relationship or manipulative type relationship. But other people are still maybe, shadowy Sagittarius that anyone can harness regardless of their sun sign. Can just be more immature people that are kind of more caught up in the illusion of the world, want to be kind of like an immature player, want to be more indulged. Shadowy fire sign energy can be that they're more caught up in the world with the authority card next. It's more about the status and the ego and the image and who I'm friends with and what kind of job I have and if I'm in a relationship or not in a relationship. And, and that could still be more what drives them, motivates them. And they're kind of probably getting caught up in other people who could be like that, not listening to their intuition when they are in relationships with people who are more authentic and loving. Then we have the teaching card, the contracts card, and the study card. So we've all got to go on these journeys in life to learn these lessons. And again, some people have learned more of those lessons and tempered. They're being more about themselves, more about the world, more about their defensive nature, immature nature, egoic nature, self-indulgent nature than other people. But also, we can get in relationships with people and we could have not realized that they harness these energies differently and their idea of what it means to be in a relationship could be different than your idea of what it means to be in a relationship. Some people just want to be in a relationship, to indulge in a relationship, for being in a relationship and the things that come with that. And also maybe the ego or the image or the status. But the reason you can get in a relationship with someone is you do kind of get caught up. Even if people are immature and shadowy, they might try to create the illusion that they're more high vibrational than they really are. Like they're more just and fair and stable and grounded than they really are. And they could put a lot of work and effort to present themselves. I view the authority card as kind of Taurus and Aries energy. Like, I'm a stable, grounded person, male or female. I have stability and security in my life, or I have a certain status or image, or I'm like a pillar of society. And the reason you can be drawn and attracted to them is because all those things can be true to a degree, They might have a certain status or image, fire sign energy. They might be inspired to put in work and effort to have a certain status or image or stability or security or have a certain social status of like looking like a pillar of society, right? And like you, they could like to, like I said, Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. And we have the teaching card here. And you could have felt like with some of the people in your life that you were on the same page. You're motivated and inspired to work together with people who are inspired to act maybe with character and integrity and be inspired to help other people. But the problem is of what ultimately drives people to be a loving and encouraging person in people's lives. Some people can be a loving and encouraging person in people's lives, but they have no intention in the Tower card of detaching from some ways of viewing life in the Contracts card, which I view as Libra and Taurus energy. I have this way of viewing relationships that I think is just and fair and a way of living life, what kind of drives and motivates me, and that's their truth. And for some, with the Study card coming next, that also kind of just reminds me of air sign energy in addition to Sagittarius energy, that again, they're just more caught up in the world. We should get in a relationship. I can be loving and encouraging to you, but the ultimate driving motive behind it is because I want to be in a relationship. It's good for my ego and my image and my status. This makes practical, logical sense. But it's maybe not really inspired by truth and love. Well, no, I get hurt doing that. I'm kind of more caught up in the illusion of love. I like being in relationships. I like all the things about it and how it benefits me in all these different ways. And they could view themselves as a loving and encouraging person. In a lot of ways they could be, and they could be stable and grounded and got status or image or whatever, social clout or attractive or charming. But because they have a certain way of what drives and motivates them ultimately can be more, this is good for my status and my image, and I like being in the relationship, and you like being in the relationship, and this is good for your status and image. This makes logical, practical sense. Of course, we should stay in it. But again, it's kind of more the illusion of love. If they're not really more detached from operating from their more and being motivated by their more worldly, egoic view of life. And so then sometimes people who can seem to and view themselves as being these certain types of people in the world, they can get in a relationship with someone who really isn't doing all these things for the status or the ego and the image. Does it work out for them that they might have a certain status or image and look like a pillar of society? Yeah, but that's not really why they do it. They do it because that is the truth authentically of who they are. And that's when the other people can become jealous because it kind of highlights the truth of the foundation that they operate from. That they can do all these things and act all these certain ways and attend all these certain functions and interact with certain people, but it's more because of how they want people to view them and how ultimately it will in turn benefit them. I mean, we've all learned to treat other people in a way that we like to be treated to a degree, right? And polite society or something, right? But some people, it's like their heart isn't in it. That's in Sagittarius Gemini, being motivated and inspired by truth and love. And theirs is more like a game plan. Well, I've learned from people that I should act this way, and I should act that way, and I shouldn't act this way, and I shouldn't act that way. But it's not like authentically who they are. It's more of a virtual reality they kind of create about who they are, but it's not like authentic. It's out of ego to have people work with them and view them a certain way. But they could, living more from their mind than their heart. I want this certain outcome, so I'm going to act this certain way. But in shadowy energy, they could be more inspired, again, more by their own ego and image and status, and more about those things, and that's why they do what they do, or more about themselves, and could like to be, with this being an adult and this being a child, male or female, they could like more codependent relationships, where again, they're more codependent on the world and codependent on aligning with their more self-protective, egoic nature than their more authentic, loving nature. And then they could like to be in relationships with people who will in turn be maybe more codependent on them, and kind of get them locked into a job or a relationship, but they never plan to work through the issues that stop them from being more authentic and loving. And they're hoping that the people they get in a relationship with will be caught up in the illusion of how they present themselves. And even if at a later point in time, people come to realize, oh shit, you're kind of maybe not who you say you are. And I could see that you're quite jealous and envious of other people. And you could be kind of competitive even in the relationship, and become kind of competitive with me because you don't like that maybe I am not as manipulated by these things of the world as you are. And it kind of gives a glimmer to themselves that they do kind of operate from this more superficial way of being, where you're maybe more authentic. And then they don't like that because they could have been a little full of themselves and viewed themselves a certain way. And then, when people don't want to deal with the truth, people can want to get out of and away from people who challenge their belief system of who they are. You go away, I'm going to go hang out with the people who view life just the way I do and live life just the way I do, and we're all going to think we're these pillars of society who are these authentic, loving, giving, nurturing people, but we do that kind of more from this more egoic, self-serving, egoic place than really wanting people to be more authentic themselves, because we're not. It's more like an illusion we create. But we don't want to see through the illusion, so you leave. And I also might try to tear your foundation down so nobody believes that you are who you say you are, that we are the just and fair and stable and grounded people, and maybe try to confuse people, getting people caught up in illusion, about the truth of why a relationship didn't end. And then they get out of those relationships and they go get in another relationship trying to recreate this scenario with someone else. And again, probably not telling people the truth. Oh, by the way, if you work through some of your fears and insecurities to want to move forward in life differently, I'm going to not want to keep being in a relationship with you because this is what I am caught up in and how I want to keep living my life. And I'm not more independent of my worldly nature, egoic nature, codependent nature, being more about myself. You're supposed to want to be in a relationship with me because you view me this certain way, but we're never going to give birth to anything new. We're going to keep doing this. And I'm happy living my life like this, and you should be happy living your life this way, because in a lot of ways it can look victorious and successful. But eventually the other people see, but it's not like authentic, and it's not inspired by truth and love. It's more inspired about these other things, or being more about you. And some people will never want to see the truth. If there's things that they indulge in, that's like, look at me, look what a boss I am, male or female, I am living the dream. You know, part of you could kind of wish you could be more that person, but you've maybe already been that kind of person. And it's like, I already know that those things stop me from like growing to my full potential. And then, it can kind of drag my life into hell. These things that I make so important in my life, if I'm not more balanced within myself, because the bottom row can represent that people are tipped out of balance. And so then, those things kind of get a hold of them, and we make those things too important, and kind of dictates our life. Whether it's things we indulge in or things we make important in our life. And some people listen to their intuition, which the illusions card reminds me of Pisces energy, emotional water sign energy of connecting in with your emotions and your intuition and believing in your dreams. It's like, could I stay in this job, friendship, or relationship in a lot of ways that would look really victorious and successful? Yeah. But shadowy energy can be that I feel there's something shadowy about it. And it could just be, I don't think people are being authentic. People aren't treating me in a just and fair way. People don't want me to grow to my full potential. They're not loving and encouraging. They could do hurtful things to try to get me and my ego and my competitive nature and my fearful nature. And people who love me shouldn't be trying to manipulate me in that way. People who love me should be loving and encouraging. And that's when people are like, I'm done. I see through the illusion. You go do what you want to do, and I'm going to face my fears to move forward in life differently. And as some of you are moving forward in life differently, because shadowy people put a lot of work and effort to try to create an illusion about how wonderful their life is, and look at me, look at me. What they don't know about you is they could think, because that's how they view life, and they could think other people do what they do. They could just think that you're creating a better illusion than they are. They could think that their manipulation is working. But what they don't know is that you've worked through this and you're not creating an illusion. With some of those people in your life, you're no longer interested in working together with them or thinking a dream can come into reality with them. Because your dream can only come into reality with other people who are aligned and inspired by truth and love. And you've already seen the truth that they're not. And so for a long time, they could have not seen what you were doing, and part of what you could have been doing was doing this work within yourself to wrap your brain around it, to focus more on truth and love and look to the future and closing out this chapter than being up in your head about it. And then once you're done with that work, then that could be when everybody sees the truth of what you've been working on, and they see that if they were hurtful or unkind, it didn't stop you. If they were trying to manipulate you, like they write the story of your life, they see they don't write the story of your life. And it could really be a shock, and that you're not in your ego about them, and that you're inspired to move forward in life, and detaching from that old way of living life for them. And that could be a tower moment for them. And then, those people have the free will to decide, they're probably going to put in work and effort to try to create an illusion that that's the truth about them too. And they're trying to figure out, how do I create an illusion and how did they do that? And that's what they don't understand. I'm not creating an illusion. I really did this work within myself to get balance within myself, to work through my fears and my insecurities and my self-limiting beliefs and my pride, my ego, my codependent nature. But they think, no, 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 I'm sure they didn't do that. People don't do that because they don't do that. And so it's trying to put in work and effort to try to create the illusion that they're more independent, they're more mature or whatever they're used to be that they're not. But, people can listen to their intuition about who's being more authentic, kind of about what drives and motivates people. And the people who don't want to see the truth, because that's how they live their life, those people are going to align with those people. And other people who are like, wow, this kind of illuminated the truth to me and makes me think about my own life and how I'm manipulated and controlled. And some of those people are going to get out of their ego and their fear and their insecurities to align with people in the world who encourage them to love and believe in themselves, right? So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up? Okay, we got a couple cards not showing themselves, and the reason they came out is because of a card not showing itself. It might be even things that you don't see coming yet. But I think when you're more aligned with hope and faith and belief and love and making decisions in your life inspired by those things versus making decisions in your life more out of fear and insecurity and pride and ego and living in illusion, partly the way I would interpret this is that, again, you will free yourself from ways of being and people in your life that you could have aligned with in your free will that were more shadowy. And other people, again, won't understand how you're doing what you're doing. And the reason is because what they don't realize is that you're harnessing this energy in a more high vibrational way than you used to. And that can be a tower moment. And again, as you're moving forward, there could be other people who try to, again, more shadowy people in the world, trying to stop you from moving forward and loving and believing in yourself. And it's kind of not rattling you. And they don't understand why it's not. These tactics have worked with other people. Why are you not all up in your head about it? Instead, you're staying focused in truth and love, and you're staying away from people who show you that they're shadowy. The Eight of Swords, which is kind of like the fear card. The Nine of Swords, like the fear card. The Knight of Swords, you completed a cycle. And when you work through all of it, you come out with the truth. And the Knight of Swords is sent by like the King and Queen of Swords. I have a dream and I have a way of viewing life and what I think is just and fair. And what you think is just and fair is different than what I think is just and fair. And you might like to live more from your mind than your heart. And I might have in the past too, out of my own fears and insecurities. But I've seen the truth. And the Knight of Pentacles, which is about seeing the truth. I did the inner work to heal and grow and mature myself, give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me, and I'm not going to be up in my head anymore about people who are unjust, unfair, unkind, bossy, controlling, immature. You do you, and I'm going to do me. And you're going to have this new stable beginning. Why? because of the Two of Wands. In your fire sign energy, you were more caught up in these things. You had a dream, but your dream has changed. You've let go of that old dream. You've seen how that living your life like that or being in those kind of relationship dynamics wasn't getting you the stable, abundant, insightful, self-aware, balanced relationship that you wanted. So you let go of that old dream because you now have a new dream, a new truth, a new way of looking at life. Because you did this work within yourself. And that's what some people don't get. So while some people are going to try to create the illusion that they're maybe just like you, and their life's just like yours, and they're moving forward like you're moving forward, it's like, no, because you're just trying to create the illusion that you've moved on, you've healed, you've grown, you've matured. You're still living more from your mind than your heart. You still have the same illusions about what you think is just and fair behavior in a workplace, a friendship, or a relationship. And the same things that used to manipulate you before still manipulate you. Because you didn't do this inner work within yourself to align with and detach from your more shadowy nature to align with your more hopeful, believing nature. And so some people could think their manipulation is still working. Oh, I think they're still in their ego. I think they're still jealous. I think they're still unstable, ungrounded. But the truth is going to be revealed that that's not the case. And what is coming up in your future is that as you detach from the past and move forward in life differently, there's going to be other people in the world that are more on the same page as you, that are going to want to move forward and stand up for you and defend you, who are more just and fair and hopeful and believing in truth and love and justice and fairness. And then those people will be shocked that their shadowy tactics didn't work out, and they'll be jealous of you. That's how I would interpret that. What's coming up for people who harness... Oh my. Oh, we had some more cards that had gotten flipped around in here. Let me get the deck straightened. Okay. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy that they don't see coming up? Okay. Oh my. Well, that's funny. Everybody is trying to hide their cards. Well, I think the shadowy people keep trying to hide from people, trying to create the illusion they're more high vibe than they are, and hiding the fact that they do harness these energies in a more shadowy way, but they're trying to create this illusion. But the thing is, other people might want these things of the world, or this relationship, or this friendship also, because of these reasons of the world, and it seems practical and logical, but those people also listen to their intuition. And some of the more high vibrational people in their life are going to leave their life because they too have seen through the illusion. What don't they see coming up? The World card, the King of Pentacles, the Two of Pentacles, because of the Four of Cups. Because they reject love, and so because they don't do love and they could use their emotions more manipulatively, some other relationships in their life have ended, and people didn't want to keep trying to balance things out with them, and that can be what they're trying to hide from other people. And instead, they kind of offer their cup of love and more emotionally invest in the world and ego and image, and they want to keep juggling the truth. kind of be two-faced. Present myself as a stable, grounded type of person so people will keep letting me be in their employment or keep working for them or be in a relationship with them. But they really don't do love. And they have some people in their life that have been trying to work things out with them and offering them love. And some of the high vibe people in their life are going to close out a cycle with them because they feel like they're missing an opportunity in love. And they too had to struggle within themselves with their dualistic nature that, you know, I could love you and this could have a lot of these things of the world that I want. But those things of the world aren't the most important thing to me. But it is the most important thing to these people. Either being about them and them kind of, the scales kind of tilted in their favor where it's a little bit more about them, or it's more about these things of the world. And other people in their life see the truth of it. And so they're going to have some people leave their life. And as they have some people leave their life, there's going to be other people in the world who don't want to stay in certain jobs or friendships or relationships anymore because what's more important to them is love, and they've been offering them and people like them love. But the other people kind of really don't. Just let me use my emotions manipulatively and my sexuality manipulatively and my looks and my charm and my money and all these things kind of more manipulatively. And other people are like, I want to be in a relationship with someone who their truth is they're inspired to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships that motivate and inspire them and that they enjoy and that they love. Not people who just want to be in a job to have a job or be in a relationship to be in a relationship because it's good for their ego or their image or their status. And just like they're going to have some high vibe people leave their life, and those people are going to go invest in people who they think are more balanced, who are more balanced between their worldly nature and their loving nature to work together cooperatively, other people are going to get out of those kind of relationships. And then the high vibe people are looking for people who are more on the same page as them. And those people will get in relationships and stand up for their truth and move forward in their truth of the kind of relationships they want to be in. And these people will hide that, again, they had a loving, stable, grounded, maybe emotionally mature person that wanted to balance things out with them and move forward with them in love. But because they don't want to do love, that cycle ended. And what they don't see coming is what they invest in. Like when we invest in our more immature, shadowy nature, our more immature, shadowy nature does not have our best interest. It wants to go indulge in all these things of the world. You know, that's like the devil in the driver's seat of our life. Well, let's go indulge in all these things. Let's go do all these things. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure we'll be happy. We don't have to do love. We don't have to work through our pain and our heartbreak and our fear and our insecurities or look at life from any other perspective. Let's just make it about the world. And they could get themselves in a relationship with someone they don't even want to be in a relationship with. But if the other people are just like them, they could get in a relationship and they're hiding from the world that the reason they keep working to balance out that relationship and work together with those people is because those people don't do love either. You know, but they're willing to work together with them, use their emotions and their sexuality and their charm and their status and their social ways of being to make it look like it is this the illusion of love. But both of the people in it could be people who really don't want to be in it. But because they don't love themselves enough to face their fears, to believe in themselves and believe in their dreams, they keep staying in it for these other reasons. And we have the free will to write that story for ourselves that I'm in something that I don't love. I'm in a job or career field, a friendship, relationships, living my life in a way that isn't very loving. And I have the free will to do that if I want. If that's the story you want to write for your life. And some people said, oops, I got myself in a situation that I realize I don't love or isn't aligned with my truth. And I am willing to get out of my ego, because in High Vibe, the world also talks about learning lessons. And I'm going to grow up and mature myself, get balanced within myself, listen to my intuition, and I'm not going to keep writing that story. And I'm going to get out of my ego about the fact that there are some of these things that in my more egoic nature or more immature nature, I won't be able to go indulge in anymore. But I've been there and done that, and I thought it was going to make me happy, and it didn't. So I'm going to get out of my ego about those things, and I'm going to go invest in facing my fears, to love and believe in myself, and more invest in other people who are inspired to work more cooperatively together in truth and love. That's how my dreams can come into reality. And some other people might have to repeat this pattern if they ever want to deal with the truth. That these things that they pursue, or being more about themselves, or being bossy and controlling, or having money or status or ego and image they think will make them happy, that eventually, to realize, if there's a Bible verse that they read at weddings, like in 1 Corinthians, maybe 13, but it talks about these sentences that, like, but if I have this, but I don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. It's shallow, it's hollow. And we've read stories about rich and famous, who have everything by worldly standards that we think that would make people happy, but they don't have people who are really investing in them. They could feel authentically from love and are in it for ulterior purposes, and then they feel confused. I thought all these things I went to pursue that I would be so happy, and I could have even disregarded some people in my life, because how dare they tell me I needed to grow up or temper myself, or, if you're not going to indulge me, screw you. And then the only people left around are the people who are willing to just indulge them in those things. And then is kind of seeing maybe the truth that it's not really love. Or that all the things they went to go indulge in them just get them more up in their head and more confused. And I thought if I eat this and drink this and do this and do that and just get in a relationship, I'd feel better. I'd be happy. If it's not gotten into out of a more authentic, truthful, just, fair place, if it's more about our own wants and needs or our fears and insecurities, it's probably not going to turn out the way we want, because it's to learn to plant good seeds, but we have to do this work within ourselves to kind of align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature to even plant those seeds. And that can take a lot of work and effort, and that's why some people don't do it. And the more things they have of the world, status, image, social clout, if they rely more on their looks or something, or their physique or their sexual prowess to get them the things that they want, they're going to have some hard lessons to learn, just like the rest of us did. And until they are willing to deal with the truth, and they keep thinking, but I want these certain things, and I think it's just and fair for me to think I can maybe manipulate the justice system to get what I want, and that I can strategize instead of growing and healing and maturing myself and authentically being inspired by love, I just don't think it's going to work out the way they want. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.